I pretended to be my roommate's fiancé to help her get out of an arranged marriage, and now we have 3 kids. Priya burst into our apartment at 11:47 on a Wednesday night, her dupatta trailing behind her like a flag of surrender. Mascara streaked down both cheeks in identical black rivers. I was on the couch playing video games with my headphones on, so I didn't hear her come in. I only noticed when she stood directly in front of the TV screen, blocking my view, her chest heaving like she'd run up all 6 flights of stairs instead of taking the elevator. She pulled one side of my headphones off and said the words that would change both our lives forever. My parents are flying in tomorrow to meet my future husband. I need you to pretend to be him. I paused my game. Priya and I had been roommates for 8 months, splitting a 2-bedroom in Brooklyn that neither of us could afford alone. We were friends in the way roommates become friends when you share a bathroom and argue about whose turn it is to buy toilet paper. I knew she was Indian American, worked in marketing, made amazing chicken tikka masala, and had been dodging her parents' calls for weeks. I didn't know anything about an arranged marriage. "What?" was all I managed. She collapsed onto the couch next to me, still crying. "They found someone. A guy in Mumbai. Good family, good job, good prospects. They've been planning this for months without telling me. Tonight they video called and said they're coming tomorrow with his parents to finalize everything. The wedding is supposed to be in 6 weeks. Her voice cracked on the last word. I turned off the PlayStation completely. "Priya, I can't pretend to be your fiancé. Your parents will know I'm lying the second they see me." She grabbed my arm with both hands. "You're my only option. I already told them I was seeing someone seriously, someone I met at work, someone I wanted to marry. They didn't believe me, so they're coming to verify. If you don't help me, I'm getting married to a complete stranger in Mumbai by March." I looked at her properly then. Priya was 26, same age as me. She was brilliant at her job, funny in a dry way that caught you off guard, and had never once mentioned being in a relationship in all the months we'd lived together. Now she was crying on our second-hand couch, asking me to lie to her parents about being engaged. "What's your plan here?" I asked. "They meet me, believe we're together, then what? You still have to call off the arrangement." She wiped her face with her dupatta. "If they think I'm already committed to someone here, someone stable with a good job, they can't force me into the Mumbai marriage. They'll have to back down. Then after they leave, we can stage a breakup in a few months. They'll be disappointed, but at least I won't be married to a stranger." The logic was flawed in about 15 different ways, but she was desperate, and I was the only person available at midnight on a Wednesday. "What do I need to know?" I asked. She looked at me like I'd just offered her oxygen. "Everything. We need to get our story straight. They'll ask a million questions." We stayed up until 4 a.m., creating a fake relationship history. We'd met at a marketing conference 10 months ago, where I'd supposedly been presenting on software development for consumer brands. We'd gone for coffee, exchanged numbers, started dating casually. 3 months ago, things got serious. Last month, I'd proposed at Prospect Park near the lake. Her parents would want to know about my family, my job, my intentions, my background. I worked as a software engineer at a fintech startup, which was actually true. My parents lived in Ohio, which was also true. I was Catholic, which would be a problem, but not an insurmountable one if I seemed respectful and successful. We rehearsed answers until they sounded natural. Where did we go on our first date? That Thai place on 5th Avenue. What did I love most about her? Her ambition and her kindness. When did I know I wanted to marry her? When she stayed up all night helping me debug code for a presentation, even though she knew nothing about programming. That last one was actually true. It had happened in June, and I'd thought then what a good friend she was. Now I was supposed to convince her parents I was in love with her. When her phone alarm went off at 7 a.m., neither of us had slept. We looked at each other across the coffee table scattered with empty mugs and handwritten notes. "This is insane," I said. "I know, thank you." Her parents arrived at 2 p.m. I'd called in sick to work and spent the morning cleaning the apartment until it looked like adults lived there instead of 2 people who survived on takeout and never folded laundry. Priya had gone through my closet and picked out clothes that looked presentable but not trying too hard. Dark jeans, a button-down shirt, my nice watch that had been a college graduation gift. When the doorbell rang, she grabbed my hand. Hers was ice cold. "Ready?" she whispered. "No, me neither." She opened the door. Her parents were not what I expected. Her mother was small and elegant, wearing a gorgeous green sari, her hair in a perfect bun, gold jewelry catching the afternoon light. Her father was tall, gray-haired, wearing slacks and a sweater vest, carrying himself with the posture of someone who expected to be listened to. Behind them were 3 more people, a younger man who must be the intended groom and his parents. This wasn't just a verification visit. This was a confrontation. Priya, her mother said, sweeping into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. We brought the Kapoors. Since you claim to be engaged, we thought you should meet the family you're disrespecting with your lies. The intended groom, who looked about 30 and uncomfortable, stayed near the door. His parents stood beside Priya's parents in a unified wall of parental authority. 5 people, staring at us, waiting for the lie to crumble. Priya's hand tightened around mine. Mom, Dad, these are not lies. This is Evan Gallagher, my fiancé. Her mother's eyes traveled from our joined hands up to my face, conducting some kind of assessment. I was definitely failing. Your fiancé, she repeated, the one you never mentioned until yesterday. I wanted to be sure before introducing him. It's serious now. Her father stepped forward. How long have you been seeing my daughter? 10 months, sir. The sir felt right. He nodded slightly. And you proposed when? Last month, at Prospect Park. Show me the ring. Priya's hand went to her other hand, which was bare. We'd forgotten about a ring. Neither of us had thought about the physical evidence required for an engagement. The silence stretched. Mrs. Kapoor, the intended groom's mother, made a small sound of satisfaction. You see, there is no engagement. There is no boyfriend. This is a story to avoid responsibility. Priya's mother looked like she might cry or explode. I couldn't tell which. Priya, how could you lie like this? The Kapoors came all the way from Mumbai. We have been planning this for months. You have embarrassed us completely. I felt Priya starting to shake next to me. I thought about all the nights over the past 8 months when she'd made me dinner after brutal workdays. The time she'd helped me prepare for a job interview by running practice questions for 3 hours. The way she laughed at my terrible jokes and never made me feel stupid for asking how to pronounce words in Hindi when Bollywood movies played on weekends. She was my friend. She'd asked for help, so I did something I hadn't planned. I dropped to one knee right there in our living room. Priya looked down at me in complete shock. I don't have the ring on me, I said, looking up at her while addressing everyone else. It's being resized. I proposed with my grandmother's ring, but Priya's hands are smaller. It's at the jeweler. I turned to face her parents. I love your daughter. I've loved her since the night she fell asleep on the couch while we were watching a documentary about climate change. She was so passionate about it, arguing with the TV, and then she just passed out mid-sentence. I covered her with a blanket and thought, I want to see this person every day for the rest of my life. That had also actually happened. In August, I was improvising with truth. I know I'm not what you planned for her. I know I'm not Indian, not Hindu, not from the same background. But I promise you I will spend every day trying to deserve her. She makes me better. She makes me want to be better. And I will never, ever take her for granted. Priya was crying again, but differently than last night. Her father's expression had shifted from anger to something more complicated. You live together, he said. Yes, sir. We're roommates who became more. And you intend to marry her? Yes, sir. As soon as she'll have me. He looked at his wife. Something unspoken passed between them. Then he looked at the Kapoors. I apologize for wasting your time. It seems there has been a misunderstanding about my daughter's availability. Mr. Kapoor's face darkened. We traveled internationally for this meeting. Our son cleared his schedule. You assured us. I apologize. Priya's father repeated, firmer now. But I will not force my daughter into a marriage when she has chosen someone herself. The Kapoors left in a storm of Hindi that I didn't understand but absolutely felt. The door closed behind them. Silence filled the apartment like smoke. Priya's mother finally spoke. That was quite a performance. I stood up from my kneeling position. My leg had started to cramp. It wasn't a performance, Mrs. Desai. You expect me to believe you proposed without a ring? I proposed with a ring. It's being resized. The lie was getting more detailed, harder to maintain. Her father sat down on our couch. Where did you two meet? We launched into our prepared story. The marketing conference, the coffee, the slow build of the relationship. We'd practiced enough that it sounded natural, answering in tandem, finishing each other's sentences. I mentioned the Thai restaurant. Priya added details about what we'd ordered. Her mother asked about my job, my family, my intentions. I answered honestly where I could, and carefully where I couldn't. An hour passed, then 2. At some point, Priya made chai. We sat in the living room like this was a normal family visit instead of an elaborate deception to prevent an arranged marriage. Around 5 p.m., her father said, We're staying at the Marriott in Manhattan. We'll see you both tomorrow for dinner. It wasn't a question. After they left, Priya and I collapsed on opposite ends of the couch. Oh my God, she said. Yeah, you proposed. I panicked. You told them you loved me. I was improvising. She looked at me. The climate change documentary. That really happened. I know. Did you really think that? About wanting to see me every day? I thought about lying. About keeping this whole thing in the realm of fake where it was safe. Yeah, I did. Something shifted in her expression. We need a ring. The next morning, we went to a jewelry store in Manhattan. The salesman showed us engagement rings ranging from reasonable to absurd. Priya kept gravitating toward the simpler designs. I kept watching her face instead of the rings. We walked out with a white gold band with a small diamond that cost 3 months of my rent. Priya insisted on paying half. I insisted it was a loan, that she could pay me back when this was over. She looked at the ring on her finger. When will this be over? When your parents go home. When enough time passes that we can stage a breakup. Right. The plan. But neither of us sounded convinced anymore. Dinner that night was at an Indian restaurant in Murray Hill. Her parents asked more questions. How would we handle religious differences? Where would we live? When were we planning the wedding? I let Priya take the lead on most of it, supporting her answers, playing the role of supportive fiancé. Her mother watched us with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Halfway through the meal, she said, "Priya, help me find the restroom." They disappeared toward the back of the restaurant. I was alone with her father, who ordered another round of drinks. "My daughter is strong-willed," he said, once they were out of earshot. "Takes after her mother. When she was 8, she decided she wanted to be an astronaut. Studied space for months, learned all the constellations, wrote to NASA. Then one day she decided she wanted to be a marine biologist instead. Complete change. But once she decides something, she commits fully." He took a sip of his drink. "Are you a decision she's committed to, Evan? Or are you a phase?" "I hope I'm a commitment, sir." "You hope? That's not very confident." I met his eyes. "I'm confident in how I feel about her. I'm less confident that I deserve her. But I'm going to try every day to be worthy of her choosing me." He studied me for a long moment. "The arranged marriage. You know why we pursue these for our children? To ensure compatibility? Shared background? To protect them from making mistakes driven by temporary feelings. Love is not enough to build a marriage. You need partnership, respect, shared values, family support. In my day, these things were ensured through arrangement. Now young people choose based on attraction and call it love." He set his glass down carefully. "But I will tell you something. My marriage was arranged. I met my wife 3 times before the wedding. We have been married 34 years. I love her more now than I thought possible to love another person. But the love came after commitment, after choosing to build a life together, after years of partnership." He looked toward where his wife and daughter had gone. "Priya's mother and I want the same for her. Not love first, but commitment first. Love follows commitment when both people choose to cultivate it." I didn't know what to say to that. The women returned. Priya's face was unreadable. Her mother had a slight smile. We finished dinner making small talk about the city, about Priya's job, about my work. When we said goodbye outside the restaurant, her mother hugged Priya and whispered something I couldn't hear. In the Uber back to Brooklyn, I asked what her mother had said. She said, "You're either a very good liar or completely in love with me. She can't decide which." "What did you tell her?" "That I wasn't sure either." Back at the apartment, we stood in the kitchen not looking at each other. The engagement ring caught the light. "Your dad gave me a speech about commitment and arranged marriage," I said. "He does that. He's a professor. Every conversation is a lecture." She turned to face me. "Evan, what are we doing?" "Helping you avoid an arranged marriage. By creating a fake engagement that involves real rings and meeting parents and lying to everyone we know." She pulled the ring off and set it on the counter between us. "This has to end at some point. We need an exit strategy." I looked at the ring. 24 hours ago, I'd been playing video games. Now I was engaged to my roommate and had given speeches about love to her parents. "Okay, exit strategy. Your parents go home when?" "Sunday. 3 more days." So we maintain the story through Sunday. After they leave, we stay engaged for a few months. Let them get used to the idea. Then we stage a breakup. Say we realized we wanted different things. They'll be disappointed, but it's better than the arranged marriage. That's 4 months of lying. You asked me to do this. I know. I didn't think about how complicated it would get. She picked up the ring and put it back on. 3 more days. We can do 3 more days. Her parents wanted to spend the next day doing touristy things. We went to the Statue of Liberty, took photos like a real couple, held hands on the ferry while her mother snapped pictures. Her father asked about my family. I called my mom on speakerphone and told her I was showing Priya's parents around the city. I didn't mention the engagement. The lies were multiplying like cells. That night, her parents insisted we join them at their hotel for drinks. The hotel bar was dimly lit, playing jazz, full of business travelers and tourists. Her father ordered scotch. Her mother had wine. Priya and I both got beer. "Tell me about how you proposed." her mother said. I want to hear it from Evan. I launched into the story. Prospect Park, sunset, near the lake. I'd been nervous, had the ring in my pocket for weeks waiting for the right moment. Priya had been talking about a work project, excited and animated, and I'd just known it was time. I'd interrupted her mid-sentence, got down on one knee, and asked her to marry me. What did she say? Her mother asked. She said yes, eventually. First, she laughed because she thought I was joking. Then she realized I was serious, and she cried. Then she said yes. Priya was staring at me. We hadn't rehearsed this part. What did you say when you proposed? Her father asked. I asked her to marry me. I said I couldn't imagine my life without her in it, that every day with her was better than any day before her, that I wanted to build a life together, not just share an apartment. I was pulling from actual feelings, things I'd thought over the past months, but never said aloud. I told her she made me want to be better than I was, that her ambition inspired me, her kindness humbled me, her intelligence challenged me. I said I knew I wasn't perfect, but I'd spend every day trying to be worthy of her. Her mother's eyes were wet. Her father nodded slowly. Those are good reasons to marry someone. Priya excused herself to the bathroom. Her mother followed. I was alone with her. Father again. You love her, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir. Does she love you? That was the question I couldn't answer honestly. You'd have to ask her. I'm asking you. In your heart, do you believe she loves you? I thought about Priya over the past 8 months. The way she brought me coffee without asking when she saw me working late. The way she laughed at my jokes even when they weren't funny. The way she'd trusted me enough to ask for help with the most important decision of her life. I think she cares about me. Whether that's love, I don't know. He leaned back in his chair. When I met my wife for the first time, I didn't know if I loved her. I knew I respected her family, admired her education, appreciated her beauty. The love came later, built day by day through shared experiences and choices to stay committed. Modern people think love must come first, fully formed, but love is like a plant. It needs tending, watering, patience. Sir, are you saying arranged marriages are better? I'm saying commitment and love are not opposites. They are partners. You have committed to my daughter through this engagement. Whether love is there yet or not, it can grow if you both choose to cultivate it. The women returned. Priya looked shaken. We said goodnight and caught a cab back to Brooklyn. In the back seat, she said, My mother knows. Knows what? That we're lying. She didn't say it directly, but she knows. What did she say? She said when she got engaged to my father, she barely knew him. They built their love over time through commitment and choice. She said love isn't magic, it's work, and she asked me if I was willing to do the work. Priya looked at me. Evan, I think she's saying even if we're faking it, we could make it real if we wanted to. The implications of that hung between us for the rest of the ride home. That night, I lay in bed thinking about commitment and love and lying. I'd told Priya's parents I loved her. I'd described proposing with words that felt true, even though the event never happened. I'd worn a ring and held her hand and played a role that was starting to feel less like acting. Saturday morning, Priya knocked on my bedroom door. Can we talk? I opened the door. She was in pajamas, holding 2 mugs of coffee, looking nervous. My parents want us to come to Mumbai for a formal engagement ceremony. In 2 weeks. They're booking flights. I took one of the mugs. That wasn't part of the plan. I know, but if we say no, they'll know we're lying. We have to go. Priya, that's not just a dinner. That's meeting your entire extended family. That's a ceremony. That's making this even more real. I know, but what choice do we have? If we back out now, everything falls apart. The Kapoors will swoop back in. My parents will insist on the arranged marriage. I'll be married to a stranger by spring. She sat on my bed. Please, just 2 weeks in Mumbai. We do the ceremony. Convince everyone, come back. Here, then stage the breakup. I'll pay for your ticket. I'll tell work you're sick. Please. I sat next to her. This is spiraling. I know. We're going to hurt people when the truth comes out. I know that too. But right now, I'm more worried about being forced into a marriage I don't want. I thought about my job, my life, the comfortable routine I'd had before Wednesday night. Then I thought about Priya crying on our couch, desperate and scared. Okay, 2 weeks in Mumbai. She hugged me. It lasted longer than a friendly hug. When she pulled back, she said, Thank you for all of this. You're saving my life. Or ruining both our lives. Unclear which yet. Sunday, her parents flew back to Mumbai. We promised to arrive in 11 days for the ceremony. At the airport, her mother hugged us both. I'm proud of you, she whispered to Priya, for choosing your own path. Her father shook my hand. Take care of her. I will, sir. After they left, Priya and I went back to the apartment. We sat on the couch in silence. We're going to Mumbai, she finally said. We're going to Mumbai to have a fake engagement ceremony. Yep, this is insane. Completely insane. But neither of us moved to stop it. Work was understanding when I said I needed 2 weeks for a family emergency. My boss assumed someone had died. I didn't correct him. Priya told her job she was using vacation time to introduce her fiancé to her extended family in India. We booked flights, got vaccinations, researched customs and expectations for engagement ceremonies. We practiced lying until we could do it without thinking. The night before we flew out, we had dinner at our apartment. Take-out Thai from the place that was supposedly our first date location. What if someone asks something we haven't prepared for? Priya asked, pushing pad thai around her plate. We improvise, like we did with your parents. What if I mess up, say something that contradicts what you've said? Then we adapt, make it part of the story. Real couples contradict each other all the time. She set down her fork. Evan, why are you doing this? Really, you could have said no on Wednesday. You could have backed out at any point. Why are you here? I thought about that. Because you asked. Because you needed help. Because I care about you. That's not enough reason to fly to India and lie to my entire extended family. Maybe not, but it's the reason I have. She looked at me for a long moment. I care about you too, just so you know. We flew out the next morning. 17 hours to Mumbai, sitting next to each other, both terrified. At some point over the Atlantic, Priya fell asleep on my shoulder. I stayed still so I wouldn't wake her. Her engagement ring pressed against my arm. I thought about her father's words about commitment and love growing over time. I thought about my improvised proposal speech and how much of it had been truth. I thought about the fact that somewhere along the way, pretending to love Priya had started to feel less like pretending. Mumbai hit us like a wall of heat and noise and color. Priya's aunt picked us up from the airport, talking rapid-fire Hindi mixed with English, asking questions about our relationship, our plans, our families. I smiled and nodded, and let Priya handle most of it. The house where we were staying belonged to Priya's grandmother. It was large and loud and full of relatives who all wanted to meet the American fiancé. I shook hands, accepted hugs, answered questions through Priya's translation. Everyone was warm but curious. I was being evaluated. That night, in the room we'd been given, Priya said, "That went well. Your cousin asked me detailed questions about my ancestry. I don't think it went that well. She asks everyone detailed questions. She's studying genealogy. Don't worry." She looked at the single bed. The room had only one. "I can sleep on the floor," I offered. "Don't be ridiculous. We're engaged. People expect us to share a bed." She was right. We'd shared a couch plenty of times watching movies. A bed was just a horizontal couch. We climbed in on opposite sides, staying carefully on our own edges. "Good night, fiancé," she said. "Good night, fake fiancé." But lying there in the dark, nothing felt particularly fake anymore. The next 5 days were a blur of shopping, ceremonies, meetings with relatives, and elaborate meals. I met approximately 97 cousins. I learned to tie a kurta properly. I practiced sitting through hours-long pujas without falling asleep. I held Priya's hand at every event, played the devoted fiancé, and tried not to think about what happened when we went home and ended all of this. The engagement ceremony was on the 6th day. We woke up early to get ready. Priya in a red and gold sari that made her look like she'd stepped out of a painting. Me in traditional Indian clothes that Priya's uncle had helped me put on correctly. "You look good," she said when we were both dressed. "You look incredible." She blushed. In front of her entire family, we exchanged rings and gifts. I'd bought her gold earrings that her mother had helped me select. She gave me a watch. We sat through rituals I didn't fully understand, doing what we were told, smiling for endless photos. At one point, Priya's grandmother took my hand and said in careful English, "You make her happy. This is good." I thought about telling her the truth, that this was all pretend, that we were lying to everyone. But she looked so pleased, so proud of her granddaughter choosing her own path, that I just smiled and said, "She makes me happy too." It wasn't a lie. During the reception afterward, I found myself standing alone on the terrace, looking out at Mumbai's chaotic skyline. Priya's father joined me. "Overwhelming?" he asked. "A bit. You handled it well. The family likes you. Even though I'm not Indian, not Hindu, not what you planned?" He smiled. "Plans change. What matters is that you respect our culture, treat our daughter well, and make her happy. So far, you're succeeding on all counts." I took a breath. "Sir, can I ask you something? How did you know your wife was the right person? When your marriage was arranged and you barely knew her?" He thought for a moment. "I didn't know. Not at first. But I made a choice to commit to the partnership, to learn to love her, to build a life together. And over time, What started as duty became genuine love. The commitment came first. The love followed. He looked at me. With you and Priya, perhaps it's reversed. The love came first. Now you must learn commitment. But the result can be the same. A partnership built on mutual respect and choice. I felt sick. The love hadn't come first. The commitment was fake. We were lying to everyone. "Thank you, sir," was all I managed. That night, exhausted from the ceremony, Priya and I collapsed in our room. "We did it," she said. "We actually pulled it off. Your grandmother blessed our marriage. Your father gave me advice about love and commitment. Priya, we're in deep." She was quiet. Then, "What did my father say to you on the terrace?" I told her. "About commitment and love, about choices and partnership. He thinks we're genuine. They all do. Isn't that the point? We needed them to believe us." "Yeah, but now what? We go home and break up? After all this? Your family will be devastated." She sat up. "That was always the plan. You knew that going in." "I know. But that was before meeting everyone. Before your grandmother told me I make you happy. Before your father told me about building partnerships. Before all of this became so real." I gestured at the room full of gifts from relatives, photos from the ceremony, evidence of a relationship that didn't exist. "Evan, are you saying you don't want to stage the breakup?" "I'm saying I don't know anymore. This felt simple on Wednesday. Now it feels complicated." She looked at me. "What changed?" "I did. Or maybe I'm just realizing things that were already true." I met her eyes. "Priya, I wasn't completely lying. When I told your parents I love you, when I described why I proposed, those feelings were real. I just didn't know they were real until I said them out loud." She went very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I think I actually love you. Not pretend love, real love. And I don't know when it started or how it happened, but somewhere between Wednesday night and right now, this stopped being fake for me." The silence stretched. Then she said, "You can't say that." "Why not?" "Because we have a plan. Because this was supposed to be temporary. Because you're my roommate and friend, and you're not supposed to actually fall in love with me while we're pretending." "I know. But I did anyway." She stood up, pacing the small room. "This wasn't supposed to happen. You were supposed to help me escape an arranged marriage, not create feelings that complicate everything. I know that's not what you wanted, but I can't unfeel it now." She stopped pacing. "What do you want me to say? That I love you too? That this is real? I want you to tell me the truth. Do you feel anything for me beyond friendship? Or am I alone in this?" She looked at me for a long time. "I don't know. I know I care about you. I know you've been incredible through all of this. I know that pretending to be engaged to you has been easier than it should be. But whether that's love or gratitude or just comfort with the familiar, I honestly don't know." It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was honest. Okay, that's it? What do you want me to say? I told you how I feel. You don't know how you feel. We can't force it." I lay back on the bed. "We still have to finish this trip. We have 4 more days here. Then we fly home. Then we figure out what comes next." She lay down next to me, not touching. "I'm sorry for asking you to do this, for not seeing that it might create real feelings, for not knowing what I feel. Don't apologize. I'm an adult. I made choices. They're my responsibility." We lay there in the dark, the distance between us feeling like miles instead of inches. The next 4 days were awkward. We maintained the act in front of her family, but alone we barely spoke. The flight home was 17 hours of silence and pretending to sleep. Back in Brooklyn, we went to our separate rooms. I heard her crying through the wall that night. In the morning, she knocked on my door. "I'm going to stay at my friend Kia's place for a few days. Give us both some space to think." "Okay." She left with a suitcase. I sat in our apartment alone, surrounded by evidence of our fake relationship, photos from Mumbai on my phone, the watch she'd given me, the memory of her hand in mine, and trying to figure out where the pretending ended and reality began. 3 days passed. She texted, "We need to talk. Can I come home?" I said yes. She showed up that evening, still looking tired, but more settled. I talked to Kia, told her everything, the arranged marriage, the fake engagement, all of it. What did she say? That I'm an idiot. Priya sat on the couch. She said, "You're clearly in love with me, and I'm clearly in love with you, and the only people who can't see it are us. You're in love with me? I don't know. Maybe. Kaya thinks so. She said I talk about you constantly, that I light up when I mention you, that asking you to fake an engagement wasn't really about convenience. It was about wanting an excuse to be with you in that way." She looked at me. "And maybe she's right. Maybe I asked you because part of me wanted it to be real. Maybe I've been falling for you for months and didn't recognize it because we were roommates and friends and it seemed impossible." I sat next to her. "So where does that leave us?" "Honestly, terrified. Because if we try this for real and it doesn't work, I lose my roommate and my best friend and mess up everything. But If we don't try, I spend the rest of my life wondering what if. That's pretty much where I am too. She took my hand. Evan, do you want to try? For real? Not fake engaged, but actually dating? Seeing if this could work? Yeah, I really do. She smiled. Okay, but we're doing this properly. No pretending. Just honest feelings and seeing where they go. What about your parents? They think we're engaged. We tell them the truth, that we rushed things, that we want to date properly first, that the engagement was premature. They'll understand. Or they won't. But at least it'll be honest. We started over. We went on actual dates. Dinner at that Thai place that was supposedly our first date, but now became our real first date. Movies. Walks in Prospect Park. Conversations where we talked about feelings instead of fake relationship details. It was terrifying and wonderful, and completely different from pretending. 6 months in, I proposed for real. At Prospect Park, near the lake, at sunset. I got down on one knee and said, Priya, I know we did this backward. I know we pretended before we were real, but I'm asking you now, for real. Will you marry me? She cried and laughed and said, Yes, you idiot. Obviously yes. We called her parents to tell them. They were confused about why I was proposing again when we were already engaged. Priya explained everything. The fake engagement, the arranged marriage escape plan, the real feelings that developed. There was a long silence. Then her mother said, I knew. You knew? From the first day. You were terrible liars. But I saw how you looked at each other. I thought perhaps if you pretended long enough, it would become real. So I played along. Her father laughed. Your mother is craftier than you realize. She knew you were lying. She also knew you were falling in love. She just waited for you both to figure it out. We got married a year later, in Mumbai, surrounded by family, with all the traditional ceremonies. But this time, it was real. Every word, every promise, every ritual meant something. When I put the ring on her finger, I thought about the first time we'd bought rings in Manhattan. How different it felt now. How real. We moved to a bigger apartment in Queens, got a dog, built a life together. And when Priya got pregnant with our first child 2 years after the wedding, we told the story to friends about how we met, how she'd burst into the apartment crying about an arranged marriage, how I'd agreed to pretend to be her fiancé, how somewhere between fake and real, we'd fallen in love. 5 years after that Wednesday night, we had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, all under 4 years old, all loud and chaotic and perfect. Priya's parents visited regularly, doting on their grandchildren. My parents flew in from Ohio. Our families merged in that messy way families do. One night, after we'd gotten all 3 kids to bed, an achievement that deserved medals, Priya and I collapsed on the couch. Remember when you proposed to me in front of my parents without a ring? She said. Remember when you burst in crying and asked me to pretend to be your fiancé? Remember Mumbai? The ceremony? Lying to everyone? Remember figuring out it wasn't a lie? She curled into my side. Best fake engagement that became a real marriage ever. Pretty sure we're the only fake engagement that became a real marriage. We should write a book. How to accidentally fall in love while pretending to be engaged. I laughed. No one would believe it. Our oldest, Rohan, appeared in the doorway, dragging his blanket. Can't sleep. Tell me a story. Priya picked him up and settled him between us. What kind of story? How you and Daddy met. We looked at each other. We'd been telling him an edited version. The true version would have to wait until he was older. Mommy needed help with something, Priya started. And Daddy said yes, I continued. Because that's what you do when someone you care about needs help. Even if it's scary? Rohan asked. Especially if it's scary, Priya said. Because the best things often come from the scary choices. From taking chances and trusting people and being brave enough to be honest about your feelings. Rohan nodded seriously. Was it a happy ending? I looked at Priya, at our son between us, at the baby monitor showing our other 2 kids sleeping, at the life we'd built from a lie that became truth. Yeah, buddy, it was a happy ending. After we put Rohan back to bed, Priya said, Do you ever regret it? Saying yes that night? Never. Do you regret asking? Not even once. We stood in the hallway of our apartment, surrounded by toys and kids' artwork and evidence of the family we'd built. From a fake engagement to a real marriage to 3 kids and a life neither of us had planned. I love you, I said. For real? For real. She kissed me. I love you too. For real. And that was the truth. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.